For this ring, I have chosen a piece of silver-plated silverware, the spoon, and although it is a gorgeous pattern, sadly, it has a yellow brass core. Most of the silver-plated silverware that you're going to come across is going to have a white brass core. So when you cut the edges, you're not really seeing much of a difference between the color of the core and the silver plating. But with this, when we have cut edges, we see a yellow core. So we're going to replace that plating. I've taken this shank that I have cut out of the center portion of the handle, and I'm using my vertical belt sander to smooth the cut edges. This shank measures about 2¼ inches long. I'm further smoothing the edges with the fiber wheel on the little mini grinder. So we're at the arbor press where we have the attachment set up. The flat wearable bender attachments are set up. And I'm using the largest pin in the shallow channel, and I'm just making small presses, going around very slowly and deliberately, shaping the shank into the ring shape. Because we're going to be using an embellishment, we do not need to close the ring up entirely. So we do want to leave a gap there in the front. So I've got a little wood vise, and I'm putting the ring in there to hold it while I do the adjustment on those cut edges. Got a portable rotary tool with a sanding barrel on it, and I'm going straight down and applying the sanding barrel to one edge, then to the other edge, and I'm creating a concave area, and this is what's going to help cradle the bezel cup. If you don't do this step, if you try and build this ring with straight edges, you're going to find that you have very little metal contact between the cut edge and the bezel cup itself. And your soldering is really not going to be sufficient to hold the bezel cup in. So it is my suggestion to create these concave areas, and that will cradle your bezel cup. If you do not have a rotary tool, you can also do this with some small hand files. A half round hand file will do this as well. You need to do this when the shank is bent, because the angle of the concave area will be different from a flat shank to a curved one. And since the ring is going to be shaped, you need to have the curves fit the shape of the ring as it is going to be worn. So this step does need to be done when the ring is bent. I'm test fitting the bezel cup and seeing if my curves fit the shape of the bezel. This is a 5mm bezel cup. Cut the post off. These are actually meant for earrings, but we like them so much. They're stainless steel, so they're not going to rust, tarnish, turn your skin green. and have all the difficulties that you would have with silver-plated findings. We only sell stainless steel findings because they just don't crap out over time like silver plate does. Now I've used the extender tool, the expander tool, to open the ring up just slightly, dropping the bezel cup in there. And when the ring shank relieves the tension, it will hold that bezel cup. And I pressed it down on the table to make the bezel cup, top of the bezel cup, flush with the top of the ring. You can make it flush on the bottom, you can make it flush on the top. It's really up to you. I'm using liquid flux here, and this is a special flux for stainless steel. I get asked a lot of questions about, do I need special flux for stainless steel with silver plate, or stainless steel with brass, or stainless steel with copper? Anytime you have stainless steel component, you must use liquid flux. There are no exceptions. So I've got a couple of pieces of wire solder, just a couple of chips that I've cut, putting on either side of the bezel. The ring is held in a third hand upside down on a charcoal block. I'm using the torch to heat the ring. You don't want to focus your heat on the bezel cup. You want to keep the heat focused on the ring itself, with just a slight amount of heat going to the bezel cup. You'll just end up frying the bezel cup if you put too much of a flame on it. And solder flows quite quickly because this is a very low melt temp solder. It will not damage your silver plating because temperature isn't going to get hot enough to damage the plating. Just quench that in some cool water. Do not put that in pickle. The stainless steel will end up contaminating the pickle, and it will turn your ring pink, which for some people that would be desirable, but we're not going to do that here. And I'm back using the rotary tool and the little sanding drum and removing the sharp point from the post and smoothing down the bottom of that bezel cup there. I'm just making that all nice and smooth and comfortable, so when it sits on the finger, it's not scratchy or uncomfortable. Fortunately, there's excess at the bottom of the bezel cup, so you can trim it back without interfering and poking a hole in the bottom of the bezel cup. And that feels nice and smooth there. So I've put an abrasive buff on my rotary tool, and now I'm just going around and cleaning everything up. Any debris left over from soldering. And it's nice to be able to get to the inside, although the ring likes to jump away sometimes, so I've got to keep a tight grip on it. All right, now we're going to focus on replacing the plating. And if you can see, the top portion at the cut edges has a gold tint to it. So we're using the silvering powder. This is an item that we carry on our website, along with all the other items that you're seeing me use today, as far as bits for your Dremel, the expanding tool. Many of the tools I use you can locate on our website at flatwearable.com. So the silvering powder is a two-step process, super, super easy to do and so inexpensive. And it makes a big difference if you have plating damage or plating loss and you want to easily repair it. This stuff really, really works. And it's just a little bit of water on a paper towel here, dipped into the silvering powder, and you're just going to rub it against the metal. And you can see how quickly it picks up the silver color and repairs that gold edge, that gold or brass colored edge. So I'm going to do that all around where the plating has been lost. So nice to be able to do simple repairs. You've got a great spoon. It's got a wonderful pattern to it, but it's got plating loss, and you just don't feel comfortable in using it to create something to sell. This is such a wonderful way to be able to replace that plating easily and inexpensively. So dipping it in water again, now I'm adding the brightening powder. That's the second step, and it's done just the same way as you do the first step. And you can see that the brass color is no longer. And then you're going to wash it off. I'm just rinsing it out in a little cup there. And that looks really, really good. And you would never know that that had plating loss. E6000 is the choice for setting rhinestones. And you're just going to put a little dab into the bottom of the bezel cup. And then swirl it around a little bit. So you make sure you have the inside of the bezel cup coated. You don't want to put too much in there because you're going to get a lot of squeeze out, and then that's just more cleanup at the end. And I'm using a wax pickup tool to grab this 5mm rhinestone. And it's just a matter of just setting that stone in there, pressing it in there. If you do have some squeeze out, a tip I can give you for cleanup is just wait until it dries, because then you can take a pin and poke at one end of it and you can pull all the excess out. It'll come out in just a little string, so it's easier to clean up after the E6000 has set. And there you have it, absolutely gorgeous ring. And we're going to show you in closing a picture of one other ring. Check our website, flatwearable.com, and there you'll be able to buy tools and supplies for your craft jewelry making needs.